Is this ready as it? Oh, yeah. Okay. And I must say, when I try to watch the meetings at home, it's a waste of time because most of the stuff can't be heard.
That's what Michael Zeeler was saying. His wife is
It's
sound technician,
awful.
and she said we need something
It's just,
better. Yeah, so
Yeah.
go ahead and,
it's,
Can I bring that comment to the village board?
would you please?
Please.
That has been the case, Dawn, for years, and it hasn't improved.
And it's primarily the audio, so.
Yeah. And I remember when I was watching the village board meeting at which Tom Olson was making his presentations, I could see the right half of Tom Olson and nothing else. So you might want to think about how you place the podium if you're going to have speakers or presenters, so that they can be seen by the television audience. Yeah. I mean, he has a very nice right half, but but I couldn't see any of the people to whom he was giving the honors. So, shall we call the meeting to order this evening? The dreaded 7 North Manheim application. I thought we had amended it and approved it at our last attempt, but would you look at it and see if it's what you want? Did you find it, Terry? It's in this.
Yeah.
It's in this thing. And if you're happy with it, we need a motion to approve this version. Hello?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you so much. Discussion? Thank you for catching that. As I said, if it doesn't happen on paper, it didn't happen. So, okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
It's,
I see this. What is our confusion?
we didn't, according to Christina, we didn't formally approve it last time. We discussed it and we didn't approve it formally. I thought we did, but no. So, we have a motion to approve it. Yours says revised.
yeah, if you flip it, on one side is how it had been, and Mr. Dungan objected to it. It said must maintain the existing privacy fence alongside the deck and hot tub. He said just put it to be must maintain the existing 6'5" privacy fence, semicolon, and so you have one side that shows how it had been, and then you flip it and you see the revised side.
I don't
Shows
have any flips.
how it now is. Here.
No, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
It should be the second page in your
No.
agenda packet.
Okay, so I guess I need clarification. When we talk about the privacy fence, are we talking about what is on the deck? Or are we talking about the fence that divides the property from the chain
Yes,
link fence?
it's the one that is on the border of the backyard.
Oh, on the backyard?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
the 6-foot stockade fence. And then right at the,
is it stockade or chain link?
it's a stockade fence.
Okay, okay. That's funny, I'm remembering it as chain link, but hey. So this is the fence that goes along the property line, along between the
Right.
driveway and the whatever. And that's what we've approved. Because we had so many issues about the fencing around the
Right.
hot tub per se.
Yes.
So,
and
yes,
that's
I
in number
want
2.
that fence.
Right.
It was my understanding that we had agreed that we wanted to require that fence be maintained. So, if that's what this revision, if I'm therefore, I'm now approving this with this revision as the final decision. Perfect. Thank you.
Other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you Mr. Urban?
No, Mr. LaPointe, I'm here for Mr. Urban.
Oh, I see, okay, thank you. We will need to set a public hearing for our March meeting. I have concerns about this. I would like to hear if anyone else does. I have trouble with it being a roof sign. I'd rather see it be a window sign.
Well, here, the concern I had was in the code in section 21253A, and this was when they first wrote it. Signs, any sign which becomes non-conforming at the passage of this chapter or any applicable amendment shall be removed or altered so as to be in conformity within 3 years of such passage. Now, the laundromat with its sign has been there for over 40 years. So whoever was supposed to be paying attention to things at the time obviously had not, and they never made the laundromat come into conformity.
Right.
What I am, Rex, what I'm suggesting is that something like My Market, which is a similar size, it's a similar building. It's 1 story, it's a long building, and has a peak roof
My market
on 32
32
North.
North.
Yes. And what they have, they have a pediment. So they have, on their peak roof, they have constructed a pediment and then put the sign on that. And with the pediment, you have a perpendicular wall. So that the sign technically is not on the roof and it conforms with the zoning. I'd like to see something like that done here. But I'd like to give the owner some time to do it. So as a condition, I mean, I'm in favor of approving it. And as a condition,
Approving the
of
roof sign?
I'm in favor of approving the request for the variance. But I want to have a condition that within 3 years, the sign will have to be made to be conforming with this section of code, as it should have been before.
Why not now? Why 3 years?
Well, I don't want to I don't want to make the new owner suffer a penalty for the failure to make the previous owner bring it to conformity. So give him a time, say within 3 years like this, to do it and bring it compliant. And he could do it by, same as My Market, just put a peak, a pediment.
What do you mean by impediment?
Well, I'll show,
Are you talking about construction on the building or a monument sign out by the parking lot?
hold on. I'm sorry, this is not working. Oh, okay, I got it. I took pictures of it, I can't tell.
I think gets this, before I get it.
Here.
Terry, that's, you mean the little
They
owner?
gave
Yeah,
us one
here.
picture.
See, yeah,
You
there
can
you
see
go.
the sign, my market sign here, so they built a little,
Yeah.
it's almost like a
Is that
tiny
one?
shed type thing.
Yeah, they
Thank
built.
you.
No, I can't see it.
There you go. They added a portion of the roof there too. This was built after this roof was constructed.
They have the triangular part in the roof,
Yeah,
which creates a vertical surface
yeah, it does.
that they can put the sign on and it'll be in conformity with the code.
Vicki, do you want to see this? I mean, Ellen, do you want to see this?
No, I saw it
You got
on the, but, so, where is this sign, according to this picture, where would this sign physically be? On metal posts sticking up?
Yes, there's, I looked at it today, there's
Right.
metal construction brackets that are on the roof currently, and that's how the last sign was supported.
So you have a flat roof?
Yes.
And then you have posts
These
sticking
L
up,
brackets that come out of the roof.
holding up the sign?
Well, the sign's taken down now, there is no sign there.
No, but I mean,
But
that's what the request is, to approve that sign.
to basically put a sign there that was
Like-
almost a
like it
laundromat
was.
sign, except it looks
Yeah.
to be bigger. Why is he making a bigger sign than a laundromat sign?
I don't think it was bigger.
I don't, from the picture of it, that laundromat sign didn't look like it was 2.5 by 8.5 feet, 8 feet. Just, it's not, it's
It was
bigger.
a little bit
Yeah.
smaller, I think it was 2 by 6.5, and then now it's 2.
This is larger.
This
It's,
is larger.
2.5
This new one's
feet
a little
larger.
Maybe smokes for less is a lot more words than laundromat.
What I don't understand is why someone would have a sign made before they get permission to put up a sign. That's expensive, way to go about things. That assumes that we're going to give the sign permit for that kind of application, and I don't like to see those assumptions running around the community, frankly.
I second that. Plus, I don't like the fact that if you're going to build a sign, you're gonna make a sign bigger than the one that was already there, when it's already, that one's out of code?
Well, that would,
Well, the size is appropriate from what I
Right.
read. The size is all right, in terms of what could be allowed. My problem is that roof signs aren't allowed, so why would we want to give anyone the ability to put a roof sign?
Right. And unless somebody convinces me otherwise, my inclination is to continue to disapprove of the idea of roof signs. I think that they're very intrusive into the community.
This one's off the side of the road a little bit. That's the, I mean, that's,
Right.
it's a lot bigger sign. It's not-
But if they were to convert to a window sign, I can understand why they wouldn't want to put something perpendicular. It wouldn't be seen from this vantage point. You can put it in a window as long as it's doesn't take up more than 15% of the window surface.
Yeah, I think part of the problem, as a business owner, I'm speaking hypothetically, is that's a tough locale, as it's out in the back, it's a little bit elevated, so it's very different. I mean, obviously, I could see, if I was a business person, I would want the sign on the roof just for visibility.
Sure.
That's probably why we stopped putting
I mean-
signs on buildings.
Well, that's the problem with New Paltz. There's always been a reason to do something that didn't quite make it in terms of the code book. There's always a reason.
How far does the owner, does the property run down? Does this run all the way down to the corner to where Starbucks is? Does he
No.
own that driveway, walking into that back parking lot?
Well, there is, it butts up against apartment buildings and I think.
Okay, he don't- so-
McGillicuddy's?
Yeah, that's the back of McGillicuddy's and Starbucks, that little, you keep going.
So the driveway that now has 2 wooden sawhorses saying parking is restricted, that's the parking, that's his?
It says restricted for only laundromat.
Customers of
Right,
laundromat.
that's
But
what it
those
says.
wooden, freestanding wooden sawhorses are standing there, and
yes.
he's gonna continue to use those.
You mean the owner or
Yeah,
the owner of the property or?
well, no,
business
the owner
owner?
of the
Smoke shop.
smoke shop.
We probably would just put, obviously, a different sign that says parking for smoke shop instead of laundromat.
If, do you know what Plan B would be? Would he create a pole out in that parking lot and put a sign there? Now, I don't say that's aesthetically more pleasing, I would just like to know what his alternatives are, should this, I mean, that might actually be more, this might be more aesthetic than something if you put on the corner of the parking lot a pole with a sign on it, and that meant code. He could put, that would look kind of strange, but he could actually do that and get the visibility that we
With,
would
to
want.
what height?
Whatever our, I don't
Right,
know what, he
but
wouldn't
I
have to
don't-
put it that high, because it's already elevated. You would see that sign would be gaudy if he did say, well, fine, I'll do a code and I'll put it in the middle of this, by where the lampposts are. That could very well be, I don't know, that could be a viable alternative. On his part, I don't think it's more aesthetically pleasing if you walk back there. It's not in a very aesthetically pleasing part of New Paltz to begin with. It's just a thought.
Just, that's for sure.
We could also direct that the sign, if we were to put it on the roof, to have the sign, the bottom of the sign, at the bottom edge of the roof instead of being mounted up.
Second,
The bottom of the sign,
this sign,
well, this is the building.
yes.
Okay, to have it mounted right at the bottom edge of the roof. The bottom edge of the sign is right along the edge of the roof, which is lower.
Right, if that would be safe passage for tall people. I think it just needs to be
I mean, this
rethought.
would- Well,
I really do. I can, if I had to vote tonight, I would vote that it would be disapproved.
Yes.
And that's just a straw vote. And I think perhaps Mr. Urban needs to rethink things and maybe consult the building inspector about what could work at that site, and then come back. It would be a matter of amending the sign permit application.
how do you feel about having it similar to the Mount Market sign?
I think that's making a roof sign
Right.
that is technically not a roof sign, and I think it's a bad idea to get us that far from the code.
Right. And a sign like this, to me, seems much more like a billboard than a business sign.
So I think that would be my feeling. I think it's unfortunate if the sign was bought before there were considerations for what could be done with it.
And also, while we're on the subject, so judging by the picture, so here's the sign, and then there are these two white things. Those are the lights that our
Shining
planner
up.
is saying
Right.
should be signing down,
Right.
not up.
There
And I
are,
certainly agree with that.
yes, there are many, many
But
issues
then, of
related
course,
to signs.
then it would put the lights even
Above it.
higher.
Right,
Which makes the
exactly.
whole thing even more like a billboard,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And I'm not going to say you won't be able to drive around the village and not see any other roof signs. It's just that I think this board needs to draw some lines in the sand about continuing to enable things that don't meet code.
I was looking at
You
Starbucks.
find one you like?
No, I just wanted to think about how Starbucks did theirs and
Right.
what they did.
And
So
that's kind
funny
of
picture.
more like lowering it right above the entrance there.
Yeah.
Is a little
Yeah.
bit more like it.
I've been wrestling with this. We're not taking, it'll be a public hearing first. My own, I don't want to get too much thing. I was just thinking of what the alternatives would be, also how I felt about it. It's not on Main Street, so I felt more likely to consider something that, you want successful businesses there as well. You don't want to see empty buildings. I don't know, that was the Starbucks. They kind of
Yeah.
built a wall. They built an artificial wall across.
Yeah, it's sort of like an
It looks
awning.
nice, though. Yeah, it's
Yes,
nice.
yes. And it would, depending on what the measurements would come out to be, if that were from the edge of the roof pointing out into the parking area. Couldn't be so bad, but that that would require measurements. And
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just curious to see what, I don't think he could put a window sign there. I don't know if,
Pretty much.
wouldn't do much, wouldn't help much. He could put a sign out here on a pole, like you got Murphy's has a pole out.
A monument sign.
The monuments, yeah, however they would, whatever, you know.
Right.
I don't know if I like the aesthetics of that any better than I like a roof sign. I don't know if I like it better or worse yet. Think about that a little more. But,
Yeah, I think having it integral with the building would be better aesthetically than having it on a pole farther out.
right, that's what, now if I was a business owner, that's what I would, that would be
Yes.
plan B, because I'm not gonna put a sign no one can see.
Right.
This is, you know, smokes for less is you're catering now to people who need to find, I mean, they're going there to get a specific item. So, you know, they gotta see that, he's gonna want the sign up so people can locate it.
Sure.
You know,
Oh,
he's gonna wanna see it. I don't know, I haven't made it, personally, I haven't, I just wanted to ask some questions before I really dig deep into this and see if, of course, always wait till a public forum here. If anybody in the community has something, you know, like you said, also the lights that were on that, I mean, this will be a nice white, bright sign, and it could affect, you know, you've got lighting around it. There's a residential house right across the way. It's a significant distance, but it's there. Just try to take in all considerations before, just don't haphazardly think of, you know, to do something. I would like to, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket, is what we're telling you tonight, I think. I mean, you definitely think of some other options.
What other options would we have?
I don't know, I'd have to look at, I mean,
The code, the village code is online, and you would need to look in there. Do you have a notebook with you, pen and paper?
I have some stuff here.
Do you have a pen?
I can put it in my notes.
One of the things to look at is section 212-25. F7B. That has to do with the lighting. And within the village code, you can pull up a lot of information about signage. So to keep this from dragging on into April and May, do you think we can go ahead and set the public hearing and have the presentations for alternatives discussed at that time?
yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, you could stick with this plan, I mean, you probably, if you took a straw vote, you've already got 2 nays out of 5. So it depends on how much you want gamble going forward from that point. I mean, what could you do? That building goes to the corner. You could put a sign at a certain height at the corner side of the building, facing as you pull in the parking lot. So you're looking to angle something so somebody could see it. I don't even know how viable that sign is right there, because you can't see it from the road. You can't see it pulling in. I want people, you're in a unique spot. If somebody comes in here and doesn't know where 5 Plattekill is or how to get back there,
Yes.
you may want to think of, I mean, this doesn't cover it all, but if there was a sign here in the corner side of this building, a pole facing where people can see it from the road, it might even serve you better than putting a sign on the roof.
Right.
Or putting it on the side of the building so it can be seen? But
Wow.
check the code.
Well, that, yeah, you have to measure the height of the sign, how big, there's certain limitations, how big the sign can be, how high the sign can be.
Right.
If it can be put there, Could be other things there, you might have to take a look at it, I don't even remember, there's a tree, you have to look, be careful, but I'm saying if you wanted alternatives or other ideas, or what might even be more viable than just putting a sign right there that you really can't see from the road anyway. At certain angles, as I drove it,
When you go, well,
it's not, if you were coming up Main Street and you made that, you'd never see it. If you were coming across from, out of the parking lot of the bank, you wouldn't see it. You'd see it coming down, but the time that you would see it's a very short window from there.
Right, and you really have to be looking.
You'd have to be looking for it, or put a really big sign up.
Mhm.
I
If
mean,
we
because
schedule-
it's set so far back from the road, anything, even that corner sign on a post, would be difficult to see.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's, this is a business that's got a little niche, not only for what they're selling, but where they're located. So, I don't know, to think about it, I don't know how viable a roof sign is gonna be, to how many people are gonna see it anyway.
I think the customers are going to have to come by way of internet or print advertising, and once they've been there, they'll know where it is.
Yeah,
But it is difficult to get there if you haven't been there before.
That's why I asked you how far the property he owned to the street.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that's,
Right.
And it's also to keep in mind that
They're
the
saying
pre-existing sign
just
was illegal and should have been
a
changed.
long time ago.
Couple
like
of
you
decades ago, so,
originally said.
yeah.
I liked your first plan
Yeah.
to say, let us get a sign, get our business open, and then figure out something, but,
Well, it's an important part of the business plan, I'm sure, but it needed to be discussed,
yeah.
earlier on, broader range of ideas. And, Terry, frankly, after hearing you say it was 30 years of unenforcement in this, giving anybody 3 years to come into compliance doesn't move me. 6 months maybe, but not 3 years.
I agree.
There's too much slip between cup and lip here in the village when it comes to enforcement. History is the best predictor.
So I have a question about scheduling a public hearing. What are we scheduling, if we don't know what we're prepared to, if we don't have what we're prepared to approve, then what's the public hearing about?
We don't have to be prepared to approve anything at a public hearing. We can be prepared to disapprove it at a public hearing. The opportunity is for people to come in and speak and convince us we're wrong.
Right, but I guess what I'm
in
saying.
regard to whatever predetermination we might personally have arrived at.
But, so we don't, so I wouldn't, I wouldn't want to have a public hearing until because they're only gonna present one thing, presumably, and,
They can, that's fine.
And we would have that before the public hearing,
Right.
because there's a process that has to be gone through, and there are deadlines
right,
involved.
right.
So we wouldn't be seeing it for the first time that night. We'd just be
We're seeing it at our next meeting, presumably.
And our next meeting would be
The
the
29th.
public hearing.
Right.
Yeah, we have to set the public hearing for March,
Right.
Yeah.
unless the application is withdrawn.
Mhm.
I think it's fair to give them a public hearing and have them come, as anybody else in the community. I think that it's fair, even if, they don't change their plan,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter, you still should have a public hearing on it, I think so.
But we were frank about our feelings about it, and they have heard some suggestions.
Sure, they've got the numbers, the early numbers pretty much. I can't, I guess, that's my advice to you, Direct 10, how's that?
So, would you like us to go ahead and set the public hearing, and you can come back with either the same plan or revised plans, which would have to be submitted prior to the public hearing. And Mr. Urban could always drop by the building department office and discuss it in terms of the process and the timing with the secretary, or in terms of the requirements with the building inspector. Probably be a good idea to make an appointment.
I was going to suggest that too, the code enforcement officer or the building inspector can tell you what city's approval.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a question, you would need to,
Right.
you would know before you walk into the meeting.
Christina, did you want to say a few words just in regard to how the public hearing goes forward? Neighbors have to be
Yes.
notified.
Just drop by, I can give you the email for planning and zoning. I think that Renee has it, and John probably has it. You can contact me, I'll get a neighborhood notification packet ready for you. It tells you what to do, how you notify your neighbors, and what you need to have notarized. And there's basically 3 steps. And I have to put together some paperwork for you, so you can pick that up. And then, as the board recommended, I would definitely speak to Brian Arms, the building inspector, with the alternative ideas that you have, and that way they can be vetted before the public hearing, which will be at the end of March. I believe it's March 29th.
Okay, so between now and then, obviously we can't have a sign to let anybody know that we're in business or open.
Well, what you could do is talk to the building inspector about that. There are things in the code that address temporary signs. But he's the person you really need to talk to. You really need to read through the code and get an idea of what the possibilities are. Our next meeting is March 6th, right?
I believe it's the 29th. I'll bring up the schedule and check.
No, we should have second Tuesday, isn't it? Second Tuesday.
It would be 3/29. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the submission date, March
Yeah.
8th.
March 8th.
March 8th is the submission date, right. When you said the 29th.
March
I thought-
8th is the meeting date, not the submission
And
date.
he has to submit by 2/23, so I'll let him know.
So that's a real tight, that's a
You
tight
know.
schedule.
Look at the building next to you, you can talk to them, put a wall, I mean, you need to,
Which one?
you have buildings next to you, you
Does that mean-
get creative here. This, if I looked at this, you could do something.
Absolutely.
Walk that property, figure out who's next to it, talk about that. You want people to know where your building is. Right? So thinking something.
Christina, you said that they would need to make any amended submissions by the 23rd
By the 23rd.
of this month for a public hearing on the 6th of March.
March 6th.
Okay. And talk to the building
March 6th can't be the second Tuesday.
inspector
March
about
8th.
temporary signage.
Okay.
We're all a little fuzzy on our dates there. And it would be the next planning,
March
the
8th.
next zoning board meeting is March 8th.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait.
Okay, yeah. And the
So-
submission date for that meeting,
Is the
meaning your alternatives would be the 23rd of February.
We have a cart and horse problem here.
So we will just table this.
Before we leave this,
Mhm.
there was one other concern I had with the application.
Oh, okay. Wait, just a minute.
On page 4 or 5, it was not filled out.
Of the application itself.
I have his original. This looks like the original. From the applicant. So, that's like original.
Yeah, right. This is what I couldn't receive on my machine. So this is,
It looks like an
What
original,
page is
it's
it?
been copied in full
Page
color.
4.
Because it's what you requested.
Apply.
Checklist.
oh yes, the
Yeah.
checklist and timetable for applicant.
You have the checklist for making sure that this whole thing is complete and it's all empty. So there are some things it has, like the site plan survey would not be applicable for this necessarily,
Letter from the building inspector.
but it still should be filled in.
In defense of the applicant, they came in and filled out an old application. They came back to fill in the new one that this is. However, that section, I told them not to worry about yet because as a zoning board, you were still in the process of reviewing the new application and had possibly had additions to that checklist. So that's why that wasn't filled in.
This was, in effect, this was a draft application at the time.
This is our, yes, and
We-
new and improved, still under construction.
We discovered that old forms had been distributed and we wanted to put a stop to it.
So are we requiring them to fill out the checklist and timetable?
Christina?
Uh,
No?
Not for this particular application, because
Right.
I wanted to get at this meeting,
Oh.
your opinion of the entire new, area variance form, which is included in your packet
Right.
here.
We will
And you
get
can
to that.
review that and the checklist, and if you have additions to it, then I could do that, and then I will make the application final, the new one.
But what are they bound by? Which application are they bound by?
This one, but they were not required to fill in that checklist.
Okay, so,
Cross it out.
I would like to make sure that the minutes show that what they're, given that we're in process on an application, that, I would like it to be clear in the minutes that this checklist and timetable is or isn't required. Whatever it is, I just would like it clear in the minutes. So what is it?
It was told to the applicant that they were
Okay.
not required to fill it
Okay.
in.
So. Not required. Because ZBA has not finalized this form,
That checklist in
has not
particular.
finalized the checklist. Okay, good. Good. Okay. Okay.
Anything else, Tony, Terry?
Good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you want to leave your email with me, I can also forward to you tomorrow morning, and I'll give you the calendar dates and that. So that'll be fine. Let's write it down.
May I ask that we request that notes coming from anybody have not only the
Good night.
code.
Good night, thank you.
The application number, but also the title of the
Ah,
application.
I would love that.
I'm sorry?
So, I would like that anybody who is sending us, emails or whatever, that the subject be ZBA 16-01, for example, and then 5 Plattekill Avenue, or
Okay.
Smokes for, the
Some
title.
kind of
The
identification.
name of the application, I
Okay.
guess, okay?
That
Thank you.
kind of plain English identification of sites is also woefully missing from public hearing notices of all of our town and village public notices. It's generally very, it's not crisp and specific enough so that someone who's reading the paper can actually understand
the
what
location
property
is.
is being referred to.
I want to ask you a question as a zoning board. When they get the neighborhood notification packet, they are to place a sign in their window letting everybody know the same, and I can't find size requirements for that. It basically says to ask the board. In the past, I have had an 8.5 by 11 public notice, and they can make copies of that on a fluorescent paper and put that in their window, and is that good enough? I just want to make sure that that's all right.
That is what has been happening, is that correct?
That's correct.
We don't have any information to the contrary then.
I cannot.
Terry,
find it.
you? Christina is asking about the public notice sign that goes in the window of a,
Right.
and she was asking if we had any requirements other than what's been done in the past.
What's being done now, they're large and they're pink, so they really stand out. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the fact that they're a color, fluorescent, whatever you say, fluorescent color,
Yeah.
so that it's, and if we always use the same color, then maybe it will become apparent to people that that pink sign in the window means a public hearing, or, you know, regardless of what the public hearing is for.
Okay.
We should advertise that in New Paltz Times for free, by the way. I've always thought about that.
What?
They should advertise when there's a public hearing. It should be advertised in the New Paltz Times.
Oh, it is?
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
How come I've never seen it? I
Well,
actually looked-
because you
saying
have to just
we have to vote
read
on
that
this now
stuff,
because
which
We're
What page
supposed
is
to,
it?
that's correct.
it's
I
where
don't know.
all
We let him
that,
go.
all that
All
legalese
the legal,
stuff
yeah.
is.
Must have-
That's where it is, and
I
even
just
if
never
you
looked
see
like there
public
wasn't.
hearing Village of New Paltz and read it, it won't really pop out at you what it's about and where it is.
Yeah, okay,
It's
yeah, I've missed it,
very
I've been looking
bland.
for them, all right.
You'll have fun.
All right.
Point
I
of
really
order.
looked the last two.
Point-
Occasionally, if there's not time, it goes to the Freeman, but usually it's in the New Paltz Times.
Okay, I have not,
Point of order, should we, before we leave off this, do we have to vote this?
This is the resolution.
To hold the public hearing.
hearing. Yes, and
Because
is
we
it
didn't
deal?
have a
yeah,
formal-
we do make
It-
that.
We didn't
Yes.
have a formal vote.
Well, well, it's not too late. It
No, no,
doesn't-
no.
No, he doesn't.
I'm just saying.
Oh,
If we
and
put-
it does include, yes, it does include the date and so forth. So I
Technically.
need a motion.
A motion.
I'll second anybody's motion.
Okay.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
You have to do roll call this thing?
That would have been embarrassing if we voted nay and he
It
had not
says.
thinking there was going to be a public hearing and
I'm
he
just
found out there
thinking
wasn't
that.
going to be one.
Well, don't you think? We were really
Because why
trying
are
to
they
assist him.
I don't know.
I think
but
you made
I'll
a,
go
you know,
with
I
that.
wasn't, I
There's
came
been
in,
no no's, all ayes.
I still haven't made up my mind.
Absent.
Yeah.
But I think you did him a
Well,
favor
Yeah,
by telling him,
yeah,
you
we'll
know.
definitely note that
Okay.
physically.
Doesn't look, I mean, if he wants to take a chance on a yay, and a yay from Katie, that's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
You
This
kind
This
of
is a
gave him,
draft, so
you did him a favor
once
by
this is
basically
done,
giving him
I'll
a
send
vote
it.
right here.
Make clear that
You really
I'm
did.
finalized
Like
it
to do
tonight
that
and
one,
see if
like-
McKay wanted to do anything else.
We need
Exactly
to
what we
encourage
The
people
draft, So,
to consult with the building department before they start filling out forms rather
Can I
than
give, what are you
after.
looking for?
Or building hot tub.
I don't have it. Could happen, but I don't have
There is a
it.
process
here,
here.
there it is. Okay.
You have to be a process.
Yeah,
Francesca, I agree.
went through a management training program once upon a time that drilled into me that process is the product.
Yes.
So happily, with our newly constituted building department, I think we have a chance to do a better job for the village with that idea in mind.
I'm just curious to why that laundromat sign was allowed to be there for so long. I mean, doggone it, it's staring you at the face. You walk up
You
and
can
down.
walk up and
How
down
long have you
Main
lived here?
Street.
Yes, I have. Well, you know, I didn't realize, I mean, when this came up last week, the first thing I did was start to pay attention to who had a sign and who had a roof sign in New Paltz. And it's funny you brought up my market because I didn't know what to call that. I didn't really know what to call that. Call it like a sign. Yeah, I didn't know what to call that. But, you know, I looked at Murphy's and I looked at P&G's and I looked at Joe's. I mean, not Joe's, yeah, Joe's is up there too, but yeah, I looked at the art supplies and I looked at Jack's Deli and there's one sign after another. I said, doggone it, you know, I can't really ever see a roof sign. I just didn't
His
even
name's Joe Mayer.
think to be aware of that.
Didn't.
Now I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
Now I'm very aware of it. Now I drove up and down looking.
Right. Well, you
So.
trip up and down Main Street, not just in the village, but in the town, you can see an awful lot of stuff that should have been enforced against years ago. It's quite a story.
Yeah.
So, thank you. We have that motion. Thank you, Ellen. that is
I
done.
think that's gonna be a lot.
Approval of minutes, and I'd like, Christina, if you could tell us about our choices. We don't often have choices when it comes to minutes. Tonight is our lucky night. Is that correct? You are only presenting us with the one that has the longer discussion with the building inspector. Is that correct?
That's right, and I talked to Brian about that. He contributed a lot of information.
He did. I
And
appreciated rereading it.
this is the one time, I mean, it may be an anomaly, but he had so much information to give and was so careful about reviewing it that I wanted to put that in case, it's almost instructional for anybody who wants to read it. And there it is in paper in the record. So one of the few times the minutes will be so lengthy.
Okay.
So-
Yes. Yeah, I appreciated the rereading of it, and I think I had a copy of the previous presentation. So you're putting this one forward for
Mhm.
acceptance.
Yes.
Thank you. So, do we have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 12th meeting, which includes our discussion with the building inspector? And that largely had to do with 2/12/23 work that Terry and Ellen are performing for the ZBA.
Right, motion to approve the minutes.
Second? There's frantic reading going on.
Yes. Alan, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you.
I'll second.
Any discussion other than what we've had? Happy with it? Save it for future reference. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Lovely. Now we can take a look at, maybe, Christina, can we take a look at the proposed format?
Sure.
This is for area variance only, correct?
That's correct.
But a large chunk of it would be pretty much the same for use variance,
That's right.
but just tweaked for uses.
With the different criteria that
Right.
the use requires, put into easy to read semantics.
Right, okay. One thing that I requested when I responded to the village clerk about what we would like to see for the ZBA on the website was that I wanted the, I think it's 2/12/60 and 61 to be included. And I think 2/12/60 and 61 should be included here with the variance criteria because it gives the applicants more information about how the zoning board will make its decisions. And I think people should be aware that we should be giving the least variance necessary in cases where we approve variances, and so on and so forth. So if you want to take a look at that and think about including it. And our attorney brought up the fact that we should have the EAF short form as a routine part of the applications. I suppose there will be future projects in which we might need long form stuff, but that would be for the building department to determine at that time, is my guess.
We've already requested that the planning board have a link right to the DEC's site with the short and long form, because they update it all the time. So if you're online, you can access it. But in the office, we'll also have a paper copy
Yeah.
of the most updated versions.
Great, great, great. And then the next time we get together with our attorney, which may be March, we'll have to see. I think it would be good to give him a copy of what you've been doing and get his feel for it.
Okay. I can certainly send him to these, email it to him and get his response.
Yes, thank you, that's great. With the EAF form and the 21260 attached.
Okay.
Lovely. This is much more comprehensive than we've ever had. I mean, many times we sat here wondering why all this paperwork was filled out and we had no clue what the applicant had in mind. And the applicant had no clue what we would do and could do with the information given. So this is a good thing.
No, I think to your point too, to include this within the application is just, will give the applicant a real understanding to how we come to our decisions and what he needs to do for his own, success, and then have an understanding of what this means to our village. I love this being here. I'm just finally getting it memorized too. If I spend a day, I can remember. I get
That's
it
not a
down.
bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. Absolutely.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah. This is getting it.
Christina is doing what she can to get us a real back office that has pretty much idiot-proof processes, right? We're getting
Trying.
there. That's so great. And Bryant is with it, and Holly is with it all
And
the
then the
way.
feedback we get from David.
Oh, yes.
We feel so,
Yes.
we are so supported now.
Yes, yes. We have the planner, we have an attorney.
And of course, we have the mayor also supporting clear
Absolutely.
directions and inspection and enforcement. It's really.
Did we ever want to talk about
It's a morning in New Paltz.
on the last part of the minutes that we approved, I had made mention that, as with the Cooper Street guys, where they came up with 8 variances all tied together, and you might have liked 6, but if you didn't approve the 7th, then the other 6 would have been
Yeah.
pointless and negated in some way. I see this one's got 3 variances on it.
And if
Do
you
we
want to
ever-
attach a piece of paper, that way we're hoping they'll come out. I mean, I recall you saying that, and this form was based on a form, and it's been fleshed out by Bryant Arms and Holly. And so anything you want to change about that, but when I saw that, I was thinking of you because you had said that there's so many variances tied to one another. We're hoping this will lay them out so that you can see them, because it clearly says attach another piece of paper. In other words, think this through and put down as much as you can.
Well, I learned something from the Cooper Street guys in the way that they approached this. They tied together 8 variances. What's to stop someone from giving us 100 variances, and we may feel good on 83 of them? I mean, and then we're tied into, I don't like that. Each variance should stand on, so we can theoretically see that many and vote them. I just felt that, I'm new to this and I'm watching these applicants come in, and I saw the way that he tied it together that way, and I felt that I was already committed to a process, and I was being pulled in that direction, and I didn't like that. And I really felt that these things should, to try to find some type of compartmentalize each variance as best we can, rather than have the way they did that. And I don't begrudge them for doing it that way, but another builder can come here and throw 10 variances in front of us. And, I almost think our first reaction now should be like, whoa, wait a minute. 10 variances, I don't care if it's for 5 feet or 1 foot for this one, and so this one's kind of mean. No, variance is an important thing. We're gonna look at each one as separate a case as we can. And that's kind of what I learned from the Cooper. Just wondering, we've got 3 on here. Do we ever want to set a number to what we would hear?
I don't mind that so much because you got so much in the form that for a lot of times for a project, they need more than one. And they're tied together. So it makes sense to have it part of the same form. But you're right in terms of, you reach a point where it's really too much. And there are 2 things in law. One is that no administrative body, which includes us, may alter the fabric of zoning. So we alter the fabric. May alter the fabric of zoning. So we have to really look at how big is it? Like if somebody is asking for a variance, which essentially makes their R2 property an R3, we can't, that's out of our jurisdiction.
That's the sort of thing, though, that I would think we would rely on the building inspector to mine out before we see it. And the more information we can get in this kind of format, I think the more opportunity there is for that to happen.
Historically,
To Terry's point, which is a fair point, if someone, let's say, has got a storefront and needs 2 variances, maybe one for an awning and another one for a lobby space for something, I can understand that. What I felt with the Cooper ones, and I don't want to get too far off the point, is those were separate structures that he argued as one case. And that shouldn't be.
Okay, yes.
They were separate structures, you know what I'm saying?
Separate lots,
So-
separate buildings.
Separate lots and
Yes.
separate buildings, and we took that as a whole.
But if I'm remembering correctly,
Reanalyze them individually.
Yes, we did.
when Bren White was the planner and Cooper Street was first coming to the fore, if I have my timing right, what she was saying about some number of these projects that came before us and the decisions was that the setbacks, particularly I think it was the front yard setbacks, that were currently under law were required, were not in keeping with current planning standards. And therefore, the question became, do we hold up the whole project? Ultimately, isn't it
It was a change in law
isn't
that
it
needed
that
to
what
happen.
we want is ultimately what we are now allowing by granting the variance?
Mhm.
And even though one could say, well, but there's a process for changing the variance requirement, whatever.
We rezoned by variance.
But we
Yes,
did it
that's-
because it was.
Absolutely, that's exactly what we did.
We did it with intention,
With our eyes open.
not
Yeah.
accidentally, and we did it with advice.
Yes.
Not just because,
Sure.
you
but I
know.
would make the point that in a case like that, we are not holding up the project.
We're not,
We are not holding up the project. I always, when I was the mayor, people would come in with plans and say, I have this property, I'd like, I'm interested in doing this. And I would always warn them, I'd say,
we have a
the more
procedure.
code compliant your plan is, and the simpler it is, the quicker the process will be.
And under
And the more
ordinary.
complicated you make it, and the more non-compliant you make it, the longer it's gonna take to get approval.
And I
It
don't
is-
disagree with you on principle, but I do think in this particular instance, it wasn't a matter of doing it for the convenience of the developer. It was really a matter of doing it in the best interest of the village because
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
where we needed to be going.
We could say it's not the best interest of the village would have been to put 3 houses on that lot, and not squeeze in a 4th, demand all those variances. That's the truth. But, I mean, so.
Well, I don't know, because I would say that we want density. This is a village, it's an urban village. The town is the town, we're a village, and that I would say that I mean, this is all now personal opinion, obviously, but I would say that it's in the best interest of the village to have density.
I don't think that, I mean, I feel the opposite. I feel that, if I have a house and I want somebody 50 feet away from my house. I mean, I chose, there's some spots of the village that you choose that, and that's what you get when you move there, and then
Right.
there's some spots that are not like that, and that's
Yes.
okay. I just thought as going forward, as I've gone back there now, and I see, and it's not the most aesthetically pleasing. It looks like a fabricated village.
Because there's no landscape.
That's one. I think two is when you see houses that are on top of one another, or feel that, even though it is in the village, and you're right, it is a village. I don't know if that was, I can't honestly say that was the best thing. I think what they were building was important as far as, energy efficient structures, and I think that's what helped them. But I don't know, as I look back there, I don't know if that's the most aesthetically pleasing landscape, just the way the house is, maybe a little more room might have been.
Well,
better.
the nice thing about it is, Tony, we'll have an opportunity to look at it all again, because they'll be back. So,
Yeah, no.
it'll be deja vu all over again.
Yeah, no,
I just
absolutely.
wanted to weigh in with a related point. I wanted you to finish that conversation. But we're going to be receiving at the village board our first proposal for the new mixed-use zone, the gateway zone.
Yes.
And speaking just for myself here, not for the board, I feel it's really important that we don't have the zoning creep. We've had some other places, and that I'm going to ask the developer to put forward a project which is not going to be asking for variances, because we are not going to be setting precedents with this first structure in that zone.
I think that's a good
And I
point.
just wanted to make that point to you all, that, and it's just me.
Yeah.
That if a lot of variances come in front of us on the first project, that's gonna set some bad precedents.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
planning board and Maurice work, night and day to make that zone what it is, and I would like to keep it what it is, which we intend to be. So that's
Yeah.
just my 2 cents.
Thank you,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks.
And I think
That's a good
there'll
point.
be more of that kind of discussion with the hotel resort thing in the pit.
No,
Same issues.
I did feel that once, he had the planning side approval to put 4 houses there, so it wasn't much left for us to really say or do at that point. So, that's where our jurisdiction ended. I was just thinking as far as going ahead with that.
Well, we'll be back and we can,
Talk some more.
yeah.
That's what we do.
On our administrative business website review update, Christina included that. She and I one day were talking in the office, and I had gone looking for ZBA on the website and was unhappy with what I found, and the website is, as always, I guess, under review and revision, and the more we looked at it, the more unhappy we became. The mayor, unsuspectingly, came into the office. And we discussed our dismay, and so now here we are. I had something from Katie recently asking us to go on the website and look at it and give her comments, and I did that just today, and I sent a copy to you. And I know you've been working on other revisions.
Yes, I have, and I sent them to her, and I'll send them to this board as well. My main question tonight was, if you look under zoning board of appeals, first of all, you'll note that you can't open any of the forms, which I would let Katie know. So that's
Yes.
really, it's a real drastic thing, actually. So.
Well, it kind of does defeat the purpose of saying you have them.
Yes, it does. And then I'm also asking for Adobe Acrobat, just the standard version, so that I can create forms that a viewer can use right online. You can just open them up and
Yes.
put your information. So they have the option to come into the office and hopefully the option to fill out a lot of the information on the form online. So,
We're so
Do they
lucky
still have
Christina
to-
can do this kind of thing
Do they
for us.
still have to provide us with hard copy, or
Yes.
is, okay,
They'll have to give 10 copies of anything they're doing
Ultimately.
and a digital copy.
okay.
And, but if you look at the summary under the zoning board of appeals on the website, this is what it says. So you might want to read through it and see if you like what it says, or if you have any comments. The title of this little packet is Current Village Website Information for Zoning Board of Appeals. And you can read it through, and if you have anything that you want to add to that or change, just let me know, or you can forward it right to Katie with a copy to me.
Okay, now look at this again, yes, again. Yeah, I think we can, I think we have to be much more user-friendly. I don't want anybody not to know what they're getting into.
Could we say in there, do we want to include in there explicitly, I don't know quite how you would change the wording, but explicitly also, it's not, here it says land use issues, but it's also, I mean, I suppose that's use issues in a sense.
Yeah, what would you like
But
it to
it's,
say?
well, that's what I'm saying, I'm
Limiting.
not quite sure,
Okay.
because it,
We don't have to do it now, you can do it in email to,
Okay.
to Christina.
it isn't just land use.
No,
It's building use or whatever,
right.
property use. Maybe that's what I want to say, property use.
Okay.
Changes. Yeah, this is good. Okay, I've got my four signatures stuff.
Special use
This goes
permits
to
are.
her. All right.
So we're now leaving you this and taking this.
Yes, you can leave these with me, unless you really want yours. I'll make a new one.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Any other issues to come up? Terry and Ellen, would you like to give us a 25 words or less update on the committee that's working on 2/12/23?
Uh,
Be my guest.
It's coming along just great.
Very succinct.
No, really, the discussion has been very good. A lot of things have come up that were not in the initial proposal. I've had personal discussion as a result of the meeting. I've had some discussions separately with the building inspector in terms of difficulties he has with enforcement, and ways to write into the zoning changes that will make his job easier in terms of enforcing what the law says.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's,
Great.
there's the initial proposal for section 21223 has led to related discussions. So what was 6 pages is now 18 pages. But
Good pages.
it makes a much better, much more effective code.
Right, and we're really working at making sure that cross-referencing
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
is available. So our goal is to make it so that ordinary people can at least have some sense that they understand it, even if they then go to the building department or whatever for
Wonderful.
clarification.
Now, just to make it clear, 212-23 is a list of things that you need to have squared away to apply for a building permit. Is that where this all started?
It is for site plan review.
For site plan review?
Okay. Yeah.
And the building,
and one of
and the planning board does all the site
That's
plan
correct.
review. We do not do
But,
that.
well,
But
But
we
this
want
is
to
a joint-
participate.
we
This is a
can do
joint
site plan
committee.
review, and depending on the extent of the variance the
Yes.
person wants,
Yeah,
we
decides.
would be effectively
Right.
doing a portion of site plan review in reviewing the variance request.
And there are 2 members
So-
from the planning board
Right.
on this group.
But one of the key things is to make explicit that a lot of what is in 212-23 relates to a ZBA application as well as a planning board. Previously, you had extensive requirements for planning board review and almost nothing for ZBA. So
That's for
this
sure.
is making that a lot tighter.
Wonderful, wonderful.
It's being very gratifying.
Isn't
I
that
really am
great?
finding it a very, the meetings last a lot longer than we say they're gonna meet.
Uh-huh.
And that's because we're just really engaged in what we're doing and we wanna be there doing it.
And who is there? It's Ellen and Terry and Liz Harshaw from the planning board and
And
Miss
Will.
Will Murray from the planning board. Is it?
David Gilmore
Okay, our planner, village planner,
and Bryant Arms.
Bryant
Our
Arms.
building inspector.
Mhm.
And the mayor has been present at many of the meetings,
Great.
and I expect that he'll be at more,
Mhm.
but it's
Wonderful.
basically, it's being great.
A good time was had by all. Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Anything else? Should we have a motion to adjourn at 8? That clock's gotta be wrong. This is amazing.
8:13.
8:13. I can't
I
get over it.
move.
So moved. Second?
I second.
What guy? All in favor?
Aye.
Lovely. Okay. And I have to sign some stuff with you, and we're out of
Yes, you
here.
do.
Thank
It's
you.
in that first folder you're welcome to.
Great.
Lovely.
Microphone's off.
Thank you.